I know your time is valuable, so I'm going to leave you with a golden rule before we get stuck into the lesson. So the rule is you got 5 fingers, right? So we're just going to put our on the interval 1 and 5, and here are all the power chords. If you want to know more about this, hang around. If you don't, that's fine. You've got the seed in your head for next time. You can come back when you have a bit more time. Okay, let's get stuck into it. All right, welcome. So the prerequisite for this course is lesson 1. Okay, so it's the only prerequisite for this course. So lesson 1 is just learning all the note names instantly. So if you don't know the note names instantly, it's going to be hard to find to name the chords, the power chords. Lesson 2 is intervals. It's not a prerequisite for this course, although we do talk about intervals a tiny bit. We're going to get more into that in the next lesson when we actually look at how to construct chords in real time instantly as well. But this is just the power chords today, so let's move on. Okay, so yeah, as we mentioned, the prerequisite is lesson 1. Okay, so let's go. So the finger positions for any exercises we do in the Akousunesis method, that we have that RT1, RI2 and RM3 there, or the hand positions. So, and the numbers aren't the finger numbers, the numbers are the intervals from, you know that now. If you've watched any of the scale videos, you'll know that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so not the numbers 5, the intervals 5, okay? So there's the first power chord, C. So a power chord, right? Pinky on G, and every note, we're going to just put every note on a finger, and we're just going to play C and G, okay? So, and then I want you to look at your hand. So look at the shape, lift your hand up, and just look at the shape of your hand. You see your fingers, the distance? Don't do this. Sometimes don't spread them out, don't clump them up. Just keep them the same distance because that's a shape. That's the first shape, right? So the spacing is going to be the same from 1 to 5. So, and that's the first shape we're going to make with our hands. So we're going to do 2 shapes today, but that's the first shape. So, right, it's all about shapes and patterns, the visualization of these chords. So let's move on. I also want you to note, right, the semitone between the E and the F. Now I know that a fifth, right, has 3.5 tones, but you don't need to count. You don't need to remember that because we're going to find them visually and instantly. So there's no need to know that. It's not that helpful. So let's have a look. So if you look down, you see the semitone space between E and F. You see all the other black notes here, right? So when I look down at that, as soon as I see that semitone space, I can tell there's a fifth. Now, when I move my hand to the D, there's the next fifth, right? See the semitone spaces between E and F again, okay? And if I move it up, it's between E and F. It hasn't moved because of the physical nature of the piano. That's not going to move, but my hand's moving to make different power chords. And now the space is on the B and C. But I know that's a fifth because there's all black notes here and there's only one space, which is the semitone between B and C, right? Only one semitone, okay? So let's just move on and we'll keep on going. So reposition. So we're going to reposition our fingers now. We're going to look just quickly here. So we're going to now, so to find the power chord visually, so we're just going to do the first hand position. Now we want another common position is the octave. Now, if you can't reach an octave, don't stress too much about this section, okay? Because we can always put your pinky on a 7th, right? But for those who can reach it, so now we're going to put our thumb on 1, our index on 3, the interval 3, our middle finger, look at the middle finger now, right? We're going to put that on 5, and we're just going to, so we're just resting 3 and 6, right? Intervals, so our index and ring, and the ring is on the 6. See that? And you can do this as an exercise. It's not a power chord, but it's just an exercise. So we just throw in that there, right, okay? just to get mobility. A lot of these exercises will be building up, and in other lessons we're going to have a lot of exercises, and in my book I'm going to have, on part B, I'm going to have a whole lot of exercises. There's exercises in part A of my book, so the link's in the description, and the channel link too. So let's have a look here. So that's a power chord there, okay? So, and we call that's got a high 1. We say it's a high 1 because the root is played up there. The bass note is here, which is also the root, which is a 1, right? So that is C. Now we're going to go through the next ones a little bit faster because they're all going to be very similar, the approach. So, but you're going to remember the golden rule, as I showed you it from the beginning. If your thumb starts on a white note, your pinky's going to end on the white note. So have a look at here. You see that? And as long as you keep that shape and you don't move it up or down or crunch your fingers up, you keep that shape, you've got every power chord. So by knowing the notes, you know the power chords instantly, right? And the only exception you ever have to know is when we get to B, okay? So there's B, B flat, B, B flat, which is also A sharp, right? B, but we'll say B flat because we slide down to the B flat, right? But it doesn't really matter. Do that a few times, and that's a fifth power. That's a power chord for B. That's a power chord for B flat, A sharp, right? Do that, and then if it starts on a black note, ends on a black note. There's a fifth, same shape, fifth. Have a listen to all the fifths here. Now again, we're on B flat, so we have to do this. Okay, and when we get to that, I'll show you why we have to do that. You can just count the intervals. So we're going to go through the rest of the video fairly quickly because it's all going to be the same. We're just going to be looking when we do that second position, and we're going to look where our fingers lie. So we'll be concentrating mainly on that. Okay, so one more time. So it starts on a D, right? Okay, we note our hands, D, right? And there's our power chord, D5. Okay, so note the shape. Harmonic interval distance, okay. Again, we're looking, see that E and the F. See that when we went from C to D, it stays in the same position, and we got tones up here, tone here, tone here, tone here, tone here. So there's 3.5 tones. But again, we don't have to know with all our intervals the amount of semitones there is. It's not helpful. It doesn't help you be a better player. You need to find things instantly, just not know that they're that distance. Okay, so let's have a look. Our index is on the second. It's on the minor third now, -3. Again, if you don't know the intervals, don't worry about it. We're going to on the next lesson, you have to go back and look at lesson 2, prerequisite. So there's 4 and there's 5. So according to the following formula, okay, so now second position. So again, see that your pinky's on 5. Your middle finger is going to go on the 5. So you're going to slide your hand up like this. And then this pinky will naturally be there. Now I've got that saying ring on 6, so there's our 6, so it's a rest point, but we can move it to there. Try moving it to the -7, 6 -7, and see how it's a little bit of a stretch there, right? And then our index on 3, but it's a minor third, right? So it's -3. And then do this as an exercise. That's all we're doing. So they're the only exercises we're going to do. And if you can actually go and watch the second lesson if you like, and come back to this lesson again, and that might make more sense. The intervals might make more sense to you. So that's lesson 2 intervals. But it's not vital. You'll pick it up anyway. Again, remember the golden rule, okay? Starts on a 5th, ends on a 5th, right? And that's when we have our hand in the first position, right? First position. So that allows you to find your 5ths quickly, and you just got to remember B and B flat, B and B flat, C sharp, okay, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. Remember, A sharp is B flat. And just do that a few times. And you also visualize that pattern, okay? The pattern from here to here. So visualize that pattern. That pattern there is the only thing with the fifths that's different. That's the only different thing. So the rest is fifths are like this. How easy is this? It's so easy. If you remember that golden rule, it is extremely easy. Just make sure that you don't, move your fingers. When we come to the B, you just move your arm out a little bit to reach it, okay? There might be a slight little stretch to get to the F sharp, from B to F sharp, but you can move that whole arm as well. Sometimes moving your arm, right? See how I'm moving my arm up and down like that? So all I'm doing there, I'm just staying on the B. I'm just moving my pinky, right? And my arm. But now if I do this, I can move my arm. See, my arm moves. You can get a bit more speed if you're into a lot of speed by moving your arm as well than just your fingers. Anyway, that's going off track. We went off track. Choo. Okay, 5. So again, all this is the same. So E5, there, bang. I think you already know how to make all the power chords by now. 5, right? So let's have a look at that stretch. So we're going to look at our second hand position. So our first hand, we start with our first hand position, right? The power chord E5, right? And we're going to move our middle, right? Our middle finger to the ring finger. And we're going to see our pinky is going to be very close when we move that up to the high 1. Right, there's the high 1, the E. Right, 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 5 1. Right. Let's look at where our index is. Our index, we can either put it on the 4 or the -3. I've just got it on the -3 there. Right, so you can just practice that. You can try putting it on the 4 too and see how comfortable that is to play. Try put it on the -3 and see how we go, like that. Let's see where our ring is. Now our ring, I've got it on the +5. Right? There's 5, there's +5, semitone up. Right? And just practice that as an exercise. So now what we're going to do, because we've seen all the rest of this before, right? Just remember the rule, okay? We'll skip the A because that's going to be the same, and we'll go straight to the B, right? So the B is our exception. Okay, so that's where if we put our fifth down on every note, right, just put our hand down on every note, you'll see we have 2 semitones. We've got a semitone between B and C and one between E and F, right? So that doesn't look right, does it? Because remember, when we have our power chord somewhere else, we've got all the black notes here, and we have the semitone over here, right? And when we move it up here, the semitone moves now over there. But we can see that's a fifth. So, but when we come on the B, and if we left our fingers there, right, on every white note, we'd see 2, right? So then visualise this pattern here with the 2 black notes, the outer and here. So here we're going to visualise. So in order to turn this into a fifth, we either got to do 2 things. We've got to raise the pinky up 1, right, semitone, or we got to flatten the B to B flat. So that's a perfect fifth. That's a power chord, perfect fifth power chord. Okay, so let's look at the second position for B5, right? So we start with our first position, right? So we've got the 1 and 5 up here, okay? We're going to move our middle finger, right, onto the 5, and we're going to put our pinky on the B, okay? B. So there's our stretch. Now let's see where our index falls. The index falls on the E flat, right, which is the D sharp. Okay, so that's your minor third. That's your major third. So it falls on a major third, but we're going to put it on the minor just as we got it up there. R I minor 3. We're going to leave it on the minor 3. Okay, because it's going to be a bit of a slightly bigger stretch. You should be able to manage this. And your pinky, your ring on the 6, right? R, right, ring 6, right? That's on the 6, and that's the stretch there. So the power chord is there with a high 1, right? So it's still a power chord even though there's 3 notes, right? You've got the high 1, that's all, it's still a power chord. Okay? And we've got the major and the minor, major, minor, okay? And practice again. Go slower, actually. Like about that speed. And you might want to do this. Everything you do for the right, you can repeat on the left hand, okay? It's just going to be the intervals, different fingers on the same intervals, right? And you just see. Let's look at the black notes. Just make your first position, okay? And just move your hands across till you get to A sharp, right? Which is B flat. Okay, so the A sharp and B flat, okay, we're going to look at that. So we moved our hands right over till we got to the B flat, A sharp. Now, if we were up there, right, on the black, right, and we looked down, we would see two semitones, okay, and we'd know that wasn't right because we only need one semitone, right? So we drop that to the F, drop the 5 down, the pinky down to the 5, and that's your perfect fifth there, right? So that's it. So you can. So now we'll just have a look at the intervals here. So the second is there. The third, where's the third, is here, right? The minor third. That's a little. You can see your fingers have to go up into the black notes for this exercise up there. So index 2, middle 3. Where's a ring? You can put your ring here on the -5, or you could put your ring on the 5. Right? So you can see that this it feels a bit clunkier, doesn't it, when you're in this position? Okay. But you rarely make a chord in this position. Like you'd make. Usually you're playing a melody, and you do this sometimes. But trying to fit your fingers into here sometimes can be tricky, right? So we're just going to look at the second position, right, for your hand. So we'll just go straight to that. So all these. So we're just skipping through this, and again, you can get the PDF, download that. So let's look at the high 1 position there. So again, we're going to move our middle finger, right? And you can see that that's quite uncomfortable. Now, I do have that middle on 5, right? Sorry. That's because I was on the B. That's why it's uncomfortable. So that's interesting to see, like, that's quite a stretch there on the B, but we're on B flat. So that's better. That feels better now. Right, so we've got our 5, the middle on the 5. Now the index, where does that can go on the 3rd here. Again, we can bring that to the 4th, right? A 4th is a tone down from the 5th. There's a 4th. Can bring it to the -2, can bring it to, the +3 and the -3 there, right? So we can, but I've got that on the 3, so we can move that around. And we can even, we can even bring it. We probably wouldn't bring it. You wouldn't bring it to the -5 because you can't get 2 fingers between that space very comfortably. But if you're really that keen, you can do that. Right? That's very dissonant. I don't think I've ever played piano and have done that ever. But there you go. Maybe you can with one finger. Well, there's something I've just discovered. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know if that's ever going to be useful. Maybe. Let's go to the second position, right? We're there. So now we can just practice. We can practice. So there's the 5. We're just playing the power chord, right? So 1, 5, 1. Now the ring finger, I've got it on the -7 there, which is up there. I just risen the 5 to the +5 there. So you can actually, for exercises, right, you can, once you're in that position of the 5th, right, you can just move your fingers around, right, and just hear the intervals. We're going to be doing a lot of this in our composition. I'm going to teach you how to write songs, right, in the Akousunesis method way, right, and you'll be focusing on the beautiful melodies, making beautiful melodies. Right? And then it'll all come together with your rhythm. Okay, so let's move on. That's it, I think. I think we'll finish up there. I did skip, like, Oh yeah, no, we've got questions and answers. Okay, we do have one questions from Pete. That's right. Why do they call them power chords? All right. So you probably hear if you look this up on the internet, right, that people would say, oh, because they sound great, they've got this, because a guitar, it's got this sound as a power chord. Any note on an electric guitar sounds great. It's like the reason why they call it power chords is not because of any particular sound. It's because it lies in its ambiguity. A power chord is a 1-5-1, meaning the character of the chord is quite open to put other intervals in, and that's what makes it powerful. That it's an open like that. That it's ambiguous. Because you can make it now a major, you can make it a minor. You can start to add character. So if you're in a band situation, right, and they're playing power chords, right. The singer now is able to sing any interval, in the key, or even come out of key if they want, and so it makes it easier for other musicians to come in and improvise. They're playing power chords, and it helps other musicians to come in because you're not clashing. You're not clashing with someone's playing a third down here, and then someone wants to add in. They want to add in, say, a fourth, and it might sound okay, but you might not want that. You might clash. That it's a sound that you don't want. So with a power chord, a five is, it sounds smooth, right? And that's got to do with the frequency of how it falls on the. I had a diagram. I'll bring it up for one of my lessons, and I can show you the diagram why the fifth sounds nice. So it's the least dissonant, and you can hear there. You go. That's a minor 5. 4 sounds a little smoother, doesn't it, than a minor 5? Right? That minor 5, the minor 5 and the plus 5 sound particularly dissonant, right? Because they're very close to that fifth. And it's a bit like a minor second, like that, and a major seventh. If you played them right next to each other, if you don't play them next to each other, they're quite beautiful when you start to play them above. There's a fifth. Much better than playing them right next to each other. And right next to each other, they sound awful. So one of the tricks of composing is when you get those exotic intervals in there, you just spread them out, And the higher you go with them, they don't sound as harsh because the spread is bigger. The frequency spread's bigger. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's the end of that question. Next lesson. So the next lesson we're going to learn how to instantly construct chords. I think we'll jump straight into that. There's going to be a prerequisite for that next lesson. It's going to be lesson 1. You've got to know your notes instantly. Go back to lesson 1. Make sure you can shut your eyes, visualise the keyboard and say every note. Lesson 2, just go through lesson 2. I know it's a longer lesson, right? But just sit through it to watch it, right? Because you will learn a lot from lesson 2. And if you don't quite understand it, right, you don't have to watch it all at once. You can come back. You can come back and watch sections of it, right? I don't have chapters in it. I might end up going through it and putting some chapters there in lesson 2 to make it easier for you to come back and continue watching it. But there is a lot of information. And any feedback you have with any of these lessons, please don't hesitate to write a comment. I haven't got any comments yet in my comments section. My channel's only new. I've only started it 2 weeks ago. Everything's sort of starting to move in the second month. I had one initial video, which was my book, which gave me 500 views, gave me a little boost, but then it went quiet a bit. Now it's starting to move slowly. So questions help me build better videos for you, So you help me by just writing a comment. And I can help you by reading those comments and create better videos for you. And they can be negative comments. I don't mind, although make them. If you're going to do a negative comment, right, just make it constructive because the negative things help you build. They give you strength to build. Whenever you face any diversity. Not diversity, for diversity. I can't even pronounce it. You know what I mean. hard times, when you find some hard times, that's when you grow. That's when you grow the most. So don't stress out about those hard times. Just suck it in and learn from it, and just move on. So anyway, I went on to a rant, but anyway, it's the end of the lesson, and